Imagine a world where every single question that crosses your mind already has an answer. An immediate, perfect mathematical answer. No more doubts about the right career choice. No uncertainty about the origin of the universe. No sleepless nights spent wondering, what if? Today, we are convinced we are just one step away from this world. We look at the progress of artificial intelligence, quantum computers, predictive algorithms, and we feel a strange sense of relief. We think, finally, soon enough, we will know everything. But think about it for a second. If a machine could give you the answer to absolutely anything, are we really sure this is what we want? Or are we unconsciously building the most perfect prison for the human mind? Welcome to Luminal Thinking. Today, we are taking a strange, almost paradoxical journey. We will explore why our obsession with prepackaged answers is destroying the most precious thing we have: the ability to make mistakes, to doubt, and above all, to ask the right questions. Stick around me until the end because we are going to completely flip the way you look at technology you use every single day. We are a species biologically programmed to hate uncertainty. For our ancestors, not knowing what was behind a rustling bush wasn't a philosophical dilemma. It was a matter of life or death. Evolution left us with a desperate need for control, and control is achieved only in one way: with answers. Successfully solving a complex problem triggers an immediate release of dopamine. It's a feeling of peace, the closing of a loop. For millennia, science and technology have been our amplifiers in this quest. They have given us a massive hand, simplifying and accelerating the discovery of reality. The telescope has lifted the veil from the sky, showing us that we are not at the center of anything, but opening our path to the infinite. The microscope showed us that the invisible is populated with life and precise rules. Computers have transformed calculations that would have required entire generations into fractions of a second. Every time a new tool entered human history, it did so with the promise of giving us a deeper understanding. And today, with generative artificial intelligence, we feel we have reached the absolute peak. We have created an entity we can ask, write me an essay, solve this equation, tell me how to cure this disease. The collective illusion is that truth is now a commodity just a click away. But here lies the first great trap, a trap that one of the greatest geniuses of the 20th century had foreseen even before computers had screens. Computers are useless. They can only give you answers. What did Picasso mean by such an apparently absurd statement? How can a tool that solves immense calculations be useless? The point is that Picasso was speaking as an artist, someone who lives on the questions, not solutions. Technology is and always be a tool designed for a purpose. It solves a part of the world. But by focusing only on the final result, we are committing a fatal logical error. We are deluding ourselves that the answer is intrinsically more important than the question that generated it. And above all, we are deluding ourselves that once we have found a mathematical formula or a logical pattern, we have trapped reality once and for all. Relying entirely on machines to get prepackaged answers risk atrophying the most important muscle in the human brain, critical curiosity. If we stop asking why and passively accept the what, we enter a state of blind acceptance. We become consumers of truth produced by an algorithm. But science, philosophy, and human evolution itself do not advance when we find an answer. They advance when we realize that the previous answer was incomplete or wrong. Making mistakes is not a bug in the human system, it is the main feature. In her splendid book, Being Wrong, essayist Kathryn Schulz explores this concept beautifully. She writes, "Machines, too, are incapable of error in the human sense." What does it mean that machines cannot make mistakes in the human sense? A computer can fail due to a coding error, a lack of data, or a hardware bug, but it cannot experience an error the way we do. For us, making a mistake means clashing with reality, feeling that burning frustration that later turns into intuition. Human error generates epiphanies. Think about the history of science. At the end of the 19th century, the world's greatest physicists were trying to measure the so-called luminiferous ether, an hypothetical substance believed to fill the universe that enabled light to travel through it. Scientists Michelson and Morley designed a perfect experiment to prove its existence. The result? The experiment failed miserably. They found no trace of the ether. If there had been an algorithm programmed only to confirm data within a model, that failure would have been a dead end. But that error, that missing answer, was the crack in the wall that allowed a young Albert Einstein to dismantle classical physics and formulate the theory of relativity. If we blindly rely on machines that optimize only the answers based on what they already know, we risk eliminating the anomaly. And by eliminating the anomaly, we eliminate the future. We lose that intellectual humility that makes us say, "What I know today is only temporary. I'm probably not seeing the big picture." To understand how deep this limitation is, we must rely on an extraordinary philosophical analogy. It's a conceptual image known as the fishnet hypothesis, popularized by the great astrophysicist and philosopher of science Sir Arthur Eddington in the 1930s. Imagine an ichthyologist, a scientist who studies marine life. He gets on a boat, goes to the middle of the ocean, and casts a fishing net to study the creatures of the deep. His net has the square meshes of exactly 5 centimeters, about 2 inches. After days of fishing, the scientist examines his catch and writes 2 universal laws in his logbook. All fish in the sea are at least 5 centimeters long. All fish in the sea have scales. What's wrong with this reasoning? It's obvious. A spectator watching this scientist would say, "Are you crazy? There are billions of fish smaller than 5 centimeters. They simply slip through the meshes of your net without you even noticing." But the scientist, confident in his empirical method, might reply, "What I cannot catch with my net does not belong to my scientific knowledge. For me, it simply does not exist." This analogy is devastatingly powerful when applied to our era. The fishing net represents our measurement tools, our senses, our mathematical logic, our technology, and yes, even our artificial intelligence models. Our understanding of the universe is inherently limited by the meshes of the net we ourselves have designed. Artificial intelligence does nothing but analyze the fish already caught in the net of human data. It can find incredible correlations among them. It can catalog them at an unprecedented speed, but it will never be able to tell you anything about the fish that slipped through the meshes and swim undisturbed in the abyss of the unknown. If we forget this detail, we commit the greatest sin of arrogance, mistaking the limits of our method for the limits of reality. Human history is the graveyard of absolute truth that later turned out to be incomplete. For centuries, we believed that Newton's physics had explained the perfect clockwork of the universe. It was a wonderful, solid, reassuring answer. Then we zoomed down to the subatomic level and discovered quantum mechanics, where certain answers vanish and give way to probability and paradox. Does this mean we should reject science or disbelieve any answer? Absolutely not. On the contrary, the satisfaction you feel when you find a solution, when you understand a mechanism of nature, is one of the highest and most motivating experiences of human existence. It is what gives meaning to our quest. But the focal point is the order of factors. The answer must be the product of the research, not its final destination. The Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman often said that he much preferred to live in uncertainty and not know rather than have answers that might be wrong. He said, "I can live with doubt and uncertainty and not knowing. I think it's much more interesting to live not knowing than to have answers which might be wrong." When we use technology merely as a vending machine for answers, we are delegating the noblest act of thought, the effort of formulating the question. A machine will always give you the best answer based on the past. But to create the future, you need a question that has never been asked in the past. So, next time you query an artificial intelligence, or the next time you desperately seek mathematical certainty in a moment of confusion in your life, pause for a moment. Remember the ichthyologist and his 5-centimeter neck. Remember that what you see is only what your tool allows you to see. Technology will evolve. Computers will become infinitely more powerful, and answers will arrive faster and faster. But the helm of knowledge remains in the hands of those who have the courage to doubt the status quo. Never stop being curious. Don't accept the first comfortable truth, because the beauty of life doesn't lie in the catalog of answers you possess, but in the infinite number of questions you still have the courage to ask. And you? Are you focusing on the answers the world gives you, or are you still searching for your next great question? Let me know down below in the comments. If this video made you think, leave a like and subscribe to Luminar Thinking so you don't miss out on future mind trips. See you in the next video. Stay curious.